All right, gentlemen, let's get into the next topic. This one is a segue into um, what is ultimately going to happen by the end of the year. And it has to do with Xbox Game Pass. Now, like I said in the opening, eXtas1s is reporting on this, and the way it seems and the way that he has explained himself is that he has seen data that not only projects this, but suggests that it's going to happen. What are we talking about? Well, I have the tweet in front of me, and it says this: breaking. Record-breaking Xbox Game Pass subscriptions have been growing steadily since the end of 2024. The last official figure by Microsoft was given in 2023. Now, according to his inside source, Microsoft and Xbox are targeting the 50 million plus subscriber number by the end of 2025. And according to him and his source, it is getting closer each and every day. Now, folks, what does that do for me as a content creator? Not much and nothing. What does that do for you who's listening to this podcast right now? Well, financially, they're not putting anything into your coffers. But what they are doing is doing what we just spent the first 45 minutes of this show talking about, and that is filling Xbox Game Pass with banger after banger after banger. And they continue to do that. And the more people that subscribe, the more they're going to invest into Xbox Game Pass, right? So what did we hear a couple of years ago that they invest in? $1 billion per year, Crispy Bomb, is invested into Xbox Game Pass. And of course, that is not counting the Xbox Game Pass games that come from Xbox Games Studios, which of course is first party. That is just their third party, second party, and indie communities. And now obviously those are big, but spending $1 billion on a service where they're making $5+ billion per year, they're expected, again, it was projected for this year that they're expected to make more than $5 billion this year through Xbox Game Pass. That's 5 times the amount of profit. Listen, this is a number I think is going to happen. I think you're going to see, not only does that happen this year, why I believe it may even happen before the end of the year, Crispy Bomb, is because of what we just spent the first 45 minutes talking about. How many more games do they need to add to the service before somebody who plays on a Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 is going to look over and say, wait a second, I love my Switch. I love my Switch 2. I can't wait to play Mario Kart. I can't wait to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. I can't wait to play these games. Metroid Prime 4, I'm in, right? We're all in for that. But there is going to come a point where you're going to look over and say, wait a second, these games are $70 and $80 games. And those guys over on Xbox, where the grass is greener, they're paying $20 and they're getting Doom, they're getting Call of Duty. What is this Expedition 33? I heard it's Game of the Year. I like indies, Blueprint. Oh my God, this is in there too? And they're going to be like, I can no longer deny that value. Now, here's the thing, folks. I think this is where the Xbox Play Anywhere thing really starts to drive the point home. Because Xbox, we know they're struggling selling consoles. They've been on the decline for the last 3 quarters. It's facts, numbers. But that is why listen, do they want you to buy an Xbox? Of course they do. They're a corporation. They want to separate you from your dollars. But they have so many other ways right now. You don't have to buy an Xbox in order to play these games. And that is the Trojan horse of this. So that is why I believe that you're going to see more console sales, sure. You're going to see more people playing on Game Pass through consoles, sure. But you're also going to start to see people playing on their tablets, on their PCs, which PC has been a huge boost for Xbox Game Pass. and people playing on their TVs as well, because that is now the running thing. Crispy Bomb, let's talk about this, man. Again, there's a lot to get into, but I think 50 million subscribers is going to happen before the end of the year.
That's a logical and underlying. Let's not oversell what we're trying to do. I think it'll be closer to 60 million by the end of the year. The end of the year, people. End. Okay. And I only say this because I've been thinking about this for a while. And everybody says GTA 6 coming out at the end of the year, right? Well, we've all seen the interviews. Well, at least I have. I mean, I know Boom has. I know everybody on this panel has. Strauss Selnick, dude that, runs that whole ship over there. And he's like, we don't hate Microsoft. Like there's been a lot of Gabe. He said it multiple times. I worked for Microsoft. I don't hate them. You know what? They are trying to make money. Okay. Like these are corporations. Okay. One happens to be like, hey, you know what? Let's be pro-consumer for a while when they haven't been for decades. Okay. And, you ride that ship and you see the games they put out. And like a lot of us are like, oh, I love Gears. Somebody else loves Halo. You have those games out there and you're a fan of those games. It's not about selling units anymore. It's about selling a service. And I really, truly believe that we are in the time where for once Microsoft is not too far ahead. They're just pushing along. It's like that old steam train that's all of a sudden going nuclear. And they're building it out inside of the train. And as it's running, and they're like, you know what? We gotta build it out before we do anything else. And this is where like anybody ever read the Iliad? Like, this is where I go back to like the Trojan horse. Okay. How do you change minds? Remember the propaganda stuff that, like in wars, you would see like they would always highlight, especially in like newer like documentaries or movies, like they would just throw flyers out and like, hey, you can be different. It's okay. And Xbox is just doing that within gaming. And I think they're at a point where they have developed and nurtured many game studios, including, I would say second party. I wouldn't say third party, because like a lot of them, like, hey, like marketing is different from, actually like publishing or providing revenue to said company to make game. So I look at it and I say, they're trying, and I mean, some of y'all are going to laugh, trying to put all their hands in all the cookie jars.
Indeed they are. And why wouldn't you?
And this is, I've said this before, but this is coming to complete fruition at this point. And I look at it and I'm like, they have the ability, and this is where I say, especially this year, like they could get to 60 million really fast if they keep on this trajectory. Just, what, some games are going to, like legacy titles, older games that, somebody that may have a PlayStation or a Nintendo that have never played, and, they're locked on that platform. They invested in that platform. And I think Microsoft's respecting that and be like, you know what? Here's this game. Oh, Oh, you want Oblivion? Oh, here you go. You know, like, yeah, we footed the bill. Yeah, you're going to pay us a little bit, but they're also not being like, hey, this is $70, which I think they probably would have in the beginning make more money. But at the same time, as they see the socials and everything else, and people's reaction and people's love for certain games, you know, it becomes beyond the platform. And I really like, you know, for example, I paid $550 for my Series X. Okay. And this was when, you know, like within the 6-month window. But I got it with an extra controller and 2 games.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that was worth it. The thing still runs. It runs great. Honestly, I don't know what a PlayStation looks like under my TV. And I don't know if it would support it because they don't like to play nice with a lot of other people because they make TVs themselves. So I look at these type of things and I say, this is all back end stuff that, you know, I don't know about, but all I know is that mine still works. And I bought it then. And I look at it and I'm like, it works great. And the only thing I want is some cheaper storage options. And, you know,
And you know what? Someone actually had put in the chat earlier, you know, I forgot to make mention of it. They have the 2 terabyte card for $179. Folks, whoever said that, throw back in so I can give you credit where credit is due. But yeah, that's actually not bad because I bought
is that the WD Black? I believe
it might be, but dude, it's storage, and yeah, and under $200, and if you got some gift cards hidden around, you know, hiding in your sock drawer or something, may not be a bad time.
See, so I'm not asking for the world. I'm asking like, hey, bring that down to 150. Like, work with your partners, like, because at the end of the day, it's a proprietary. Like, it's not working for any other console. You know what I'm saying? So like Microsoft should have some ability to say, hey, like, you know, like you got to bring this price down because, like, at the end of the day, you could sell a lot more, still probably at a profit. I wouldn't doubt it. And these are business decisions that we're not privy to. But right now, you look at one company as of now, because you love to step on rakes, Xbox. You love to. Don't do it this year. You stepped on the rake at the beginning of the year. We talked about it. Okay? Like, you know, layoffs, all that stuff. Let's have a year of not stepping on rakes. Okay?
And just winning.
If you know that GTA 6 is coming out, which I'm probably sure they know exactly when it's coming out. Okay, because it's not selling to PC, it's only selling on console, which will sell consoles, by the way. But if Xbox can be undeniable with all these other games and be able to play GTA 6, you know, I'm sure they're going to release it at some point on PC. But as of now, they're only releasing on console, and they have all these games on top of that will get people during the end of the year to just say, you know what, I'll get a Series S or I'll get a Series X. And I think they need to prepare for that, as long as they don't step on no rakes anytime soon. Other than that, I really look at what they're doing as kind of like it's one of those things like there's going to be people that are going to scream and be like, no, don't do that. No, you can't do that. Are we ever going to change? Like, I mean, we have to change, okay? Like, I grew up in the 90s. We have changed already. Sometimes I was the one screaming. That doesn't mean that I was right. And I think they have the opportunity, if they just keep releasing whatever they have that is ready, that is you know, well developed, and you know, using their partners and everything else, they can make this year and the Xbox gaming thing, like, they can make that the thing, because What do you have on other platforms? You don't have a lot. Like Nintendo's doing what they do, and they're good at it. Y'all are, hey, Switch 2, Switch 2. I have no interest in it, and I'm sure there's plenty of people like me. I have no interest. Does that mean that my son doesn't? No. That means that he might want it, but that doesn't mean that he's going to ask for it because he already has a Switch 1. It's one of those things that, you look at it. Yeah, there's no enhanced version of any Xbox right now. It's just Series X or Series S. You pick. And I think they should stay with that, and they should just provide content. And that's where we go and say services. Provide content till no end. I've been a sub of Netflix since they raised the price $1. Like, Xbox, if you're going to do it next year, raise the price $1. Like, don't go nothing like no $5, nothing stupid. Just do it, easily in, because I'm still subbed to Netflix and I still watch a lot of their content. Provide content.
And that's exactly what they're doing, brother. And that's a great way to end the conversation, because, again, no rake stepping, check. Let's hopefully they're listening to the show and they're like, okay, guys, stay away from those rakes. Step on shovels, they won't hurt you. They won't hit you in your face. Don't step on a rake because that's going to hurt. But great points all around. And again, providing content, they're doing it in spades to the point where we're all like, and this is it's the funniest conversation you've ever had with your friends in gaming. Like, yeah, man, I can't keep up. There are too many games. It's hilarious. Like, oh, Game Pass, please stop. You're killing me. There's just too many games. It's hilarious. But Fuzzy Belvedere, I want to get your hot take on this, because I do think that we are on the cusp of the 50 million. And I think that Crispy Bomb is onto something. It might be 60 million. Why? Why is that? Well, instead of having a barren first 5 to 6 months like they've done, where people won't subscribe to the service, according to the eXtas1s report, since the end of 24, it has been steadily growing. And I think that has a lot to do with this game in front of you, Call of Duty Black Ops, in their day and date, right? We know that Black Ops 7, which is the sequel to 2, is, again, rumored to be happening sometime this fall. There will be another Call of Duty. Whether it's that one or not, we don't know, but that's the running rumor. But why you're seeing this steady increase is of what we opened the show with, and that is all of the games that have been released so far. And even though the normie community or the casual gaming community aren't hardcore and are not going to buy 10, 15, 20 games or go out and seek 3 years of Xbox Game Pass via CD keys or wherever else, they're going to see the service. There's going to be a game in there, whether it be Black Ops 6, whether it be Doom, The Dark Ages, whether it be a game that they didn't know they wanted or needed in their life, like an Avowed or a South of Midnight. And then they're going to see something like they remember playing, Oblivion. It is the talk of the town, right? It has taken over the social media zeitgeist, right along with Expedition 33. These are all reasons why it's steadily growing. And it's also seeing ridiculous growth, according to Phil Spencer, via PC. And that is another community that doesn't usually pay for things because they've been playing for free for years, right? They have Steam. They wait for Steam sales, but they're getting into Game Pass because the value is undeniable. Do you think they not only hit the 50 million by end of the year, do they go past that?
I definitely think they go past it. Like, I'll be honest, although not knowing the numbers, I'm going out on a limb here, but I think they reached the 50 million by the June showcase. Like, Doom is definitely going to add on some more subscribers. To what extent, I don't know. I always thought that they were, somewhere north of like 42 or 45 anyway. So I think June is a reasonable goal achievement for the 50. But like Crispy said, they could very well reach 60 before this year is out. COD is going to be a big one for them. Yes, they did it in Game Pass last year, and not everybody's going to, jump ship just for that. But seeing the consistency of following year, another new COD, and it's in the service day and date, eventually it's going to start convincing people, especially those that are hearing now things like Madden are not going to be, the older gen. So if they're looking to pick up that next gen console between now and the holidays to make sure that they can play Madden next year, they might pick up a Series S, given that that's still a console that you can get for under $300 to play these next gen games. So I think it's very possible for them to achieve even the 60 million before this year is out, just on that. Plus the fact that things like GTA 6 are going to be next gen only. I really don't think it's going to be on the Switch 2, but it would be kind of hilarious if it was, considering the Switch 2 is kind of like PS4 Pro-ish, Xbox One X-ish range, power output wise. But yeah, they're definitely on a tear, having game after game of not just from their studios, but their partnered studios. Like you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, they spend $1 billion on the third-party partnerships to get them into Game Pass for day and date. That alone, somebody that may just use their PlayStation as an exclusive box or their Switch 1 or 2 as an exclusives box, play all your third parties on a service where you could buy them for cheap or play them or have early access for them through Game Pass. Like whatever games don't go into Game Pass, day and date might wind up there within the next 3 to 6 months. And even for those that don't, you can still wind up buying them by the time they hit sale. But there's so many games in Game Pass at that point that, yeah, it's a worthwhile service, whether you're on console or, like you said, with PC players. Like I know a handful of PC players that have Game Pass PC. Yes, the UI sucks. They tell me every time that it's probably the worst as far as being clunky, but the access is the undeniable aspect. A lot of those indies that, they're not sure if they want to pay, the $20 or whatever on Steam or, trying to wait 6 months for it to come on sale. They can get it, day and date in some cases through Game Pass. And then whatever, big titles they wind up buying through Steam or, waiting until it might be a freebie on Epic or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the 50 million goal, I think, is definitely reachable. I would say is possibly as soon as the June showcase. But beyond that, yeah, by the end of this year, they still stand to add, another 5 to 10 million to that, whether it's just PC players or, like I said, the people that are still on their PS4, that are still on their Xbox One, which, by the way, the cool thing about Game Pass in general is that if you're an Xbox One owner, you can do the streaming for the newer games on that console. So that's Xbox. I know people are like, oh, you're a shill if you're talking about consumer friendliness and all this stuff, but it's like you don't even have to buy the new console to play the new console games. It's just that you better have somewhat decent internet. But like the fact that they do things like that, and it's probably going to be the same case when the next generation of consoles come out, where us with the series consoles will be able to do whatever, whenever they do that cutoff of, okay, the series consoles are no longer supported. This new generation are going to be, or these exclusives, or not exclusive, but these new games are going to be, built based on the next gen console. We'll still be able to do the streaming through the series console for those. Although I don't think that would be for some time, probably like 2 or 3 years into that new generation. But yeah, I definitely see them doing much more than 50 million before this year is out. Like Crispy said, 60 million is a very obtainable goal. Yes, it's a lot slower than what they thought, based on pre-COVID or during COVID numbers because of, a lot of people being at home and having a lot more time to game. They probably, that 100 million that they were looking at years ago was based off of that, which was, an anomaly if you look at it from a business standpoint. But yeah, they're definitely churning out great content. That content is definitely going to catch more eyes. Catching more eyes leads to more subscriptions. And it's not like you subscribe and it's like, oh, I'll just cancel, because there's something going into the service each and every week. Big titles coming each and every month, and first party more than 4 times a year. Yeah, it's worthwhile keeping the service. If they raise prices, I'm good until 2028. I always recommend stacking. It looks like sometimes CD Keys doesn't always have the stackable.
Right, they have just the new ones. Occasionally they do get it, so obviously I like to throw that out to the socials if and when I see it, because I have a 3-month gap that I'm trying to fill, and they had it at for Aniba is another one, Aniba.com.
Yeah,
and it wasn't that much of a deal. I think it was like $49, and I'm like, $11 is still $11, but it's not great. So I'm just gonna wait until maybe Black Friday. But folks, they do go on sale all the time.
Oh yeah,
and he's right. CD Keys kind of dried up a little bit, but if you are a new subscriber, they do have them there.
Yeah. So there's always opportunities to re-up your subscription, or do like I do a lot of times with Microsoft reward points and stuff. But yeah, it's a worthwhile service considering how many players they have on the service now. It's going to continue to grow, especially with them, dropping banger after banger like they've done this year. And they'll continue to do for at least the next 3 to 5 years, considering how many titles we're aware of and some of the projects that we're aware of currently. They have a good lineup for several years to come. So yeah, it's worthwhile. And yeah, 60 mil, I think it's reachable before the year's out.